Okay, let's do this thing. Well, where do you guys want to start? Where do you want to start on this drubbing? Do you want to start at do you want to start from the do we work our way backwards and ask why the hell Mike McDaniel has Bradley Chubb in a game up 30? Why the hell he's out there? So he can get his knee torn? Do you want to ask why said player Bradley Chubb and Jalen Ramsey are getting into fights down 3-4 touchdowns only to get another one just stuck right up the defense's rear? Do we want to talk about Tua Tagovailoa on a 4th down deciding to run for it, sliding 3 yards shy of the first down only to get hit anyway and get his shoulder knocked up? Or do we want to talk about the idea that the Miami Dolphins, after all this year and laughing at the Buffalo Bills, have a game after giving up 56 points, have a game in their building next week to not only determine the division, but to determine if they're going to be the 2 seed or the 6 seed. It's really, I mean, it was a catastrophic day in Dolphins land. Not one that's unfamiliar to everybody. Everybody here is familiar. It's still technically a December swoon, as it is on December 31st, New Year's Eve. Not the way you want to ring in the new year, certainly. And it was I really thought, to be honest with you, I never have these feelings in games. I usually am very optimistic. I don't really like to put the tent up on it or to pull down the circus tent until I really, really, really feel it's over, especially with this team. But the first mistake of the day, when Tyreek Hill botched that touchdown and the Dolphins had to settle for 3, my immediate thought was, ooh, you can't afford that. You can't afford that. You couldn't afford that. And it was just one of those things where it was like, it was a comedy of errors for everybody. Everybody has their hand in a day like today. You could certainly hand out more blame to certain people because, first and foremost, Lamar Jackson, congratulations on your 2nd MVP, dude. Hometown kid, 5 mother bleeping touchdowns. He was not going to allow what happened last year to happen to his team, to the Miami Dolphins, yet again. They've drubbed 2 11-win teams in the last 2 weeks and very much look primed going into this postseason. They have clinched a well-deserved 1 seed for them. So congratulations, Zay Flowers. I mean, just running willy-nilly down the football field. Today, this defense, I mean, Swiss cheese all around for the Miami Dolphins. It really was. Justice, oh my God. Justice Hill, the best Hill out there today, better than Tyreek. This guy, I mean, there's no way Duke Riley's not going to have nightmares today, just waking up out of a cold sweat being Justice Hill, because that dude was just, whew. I mean, he was torching Miami today, torching them from every which way. I mean, outside of Lamar, that dude was the behemoth of this game. He killed Miami, was killing them on wheel routes, was killing them just running. He was an absolute monster. What did he finish today with? 112 all-purpose yards. Just a complete domination from him. Oh, also had a insane return to start the second half. You're thinking to yourself as you come in here with the Miami Dolphins in this game today, and you're thinking to yourself, all right, that was a really bad first half. All you need to do is just, hey, come out, set the right tone in this game. And instead what had happened was he returns it nearly to the house. And I'm thinking to myself, how embarrassing can that get? Like, you just got completely destroyed the entire first half. You got to come out today, hey, haven't been a touchback. Nope. Right down willy-nilly. And Lamar Jackson finds Isaiah Likely for an easy touchdown. And really, I think put that puppy to bed at that point. But there's just so many brutal moments from this game, man. I mean, just so many. And not only just the idea, the Dolphins started off with a beautiful drive. They get up 7-0. You think to yourself, all right, things are looking pretty good. Now, first drive immediately, you have Rashad Bateman toasting Xavier Howard. Thankfully, it gets, botched, but it didn't matter because every time the Miami Dolphins got a break with it be a Baltimore penalty, the Ravens just always had a play to respond. And I think that was just the big difference. Like, nothing was going to stop this team in any facet. Like, they have a little bit of a stumble, they have a penalty, no biggie. We got something else for you. They just looked undeniable today. But when it's 7-7 and you have to settle for a field goal, you get a monster Achane run, you're sitting pretty, 2 to Tyreek, beautiful, right there. And Tyreek gets the Butterfingers. I don't know what the hell happened there. You never see him look like that. It was crazy. It was like hard to process. And immediately I think to myself, geez, that's not good. But, you get a good play. Then we get the defense is settled down. Probably the only time where they're exchanging drives before the Ravens stick it up right there, right up there, their blowhole. So you're settling for 3 there immediately. You're up 10-7. Okay, but you just had the feeling like you let one go there. And, sure enough, a couple of drives that stall out for both ways. And then Lamar Jackson tosses one up to Odell. Now, I was like, oh, he fell out of bounds. But as soon as Mike McDaniel challenged it, I knew it was like, oh, well, that's going to get confirmed, which of course it did. Great catch by Odell. Gus Edwards puts the Ravens up for top for good. And really, they never were back in this puppy. I mean, it was chasing your tail from then on air. It was still at the point where the Dolphins were driving and they were able to cut it, but what are they doing? They exchanged field goals for touchdowns. And you can't do that. You can't. You gotta convert these trips down to the red zone. Definitely been a frustrating thing, man. This has been a kind of a theme for the second half of the season mostly, is they get down to this red zone. This used to be money time for the Miami Dolphins in the first half. But why a lot of people are, had put fraud flags all over, which I didn't want to believe. I don't want to believe. I still don't want to believe. People are like, what are you going to say to Cowherd now? And I'll tell you exactly what I'll tell Colin Cowherd. You're still a bum, okay? And I'll tell you another thing. For any of you Cowherd supporters who are coming here who are looking for an apology or think I'm going to bow to the throne of Colin Cowherd, you can take your comments and you can move them straight to hell. I don't give a rat's ass. He's still a bum and a fraud. Now, a very correct bum and fraud today, but a bum and fraud nonetheless. Anyway, back to the scheduled programming. You can't exchange field goals for touchdowns, and Lamar Jackson must have been laughing at the Dolphins pitter-pattering like little babies down the field, because what does he do the next play? Oh, Zay Flowers just uncorks a bomb to Zay Flowers. Eli Apple, burnt toast. We shouldn't mention Xavier Howard in the midst of this left the game with a foot injury. So he was no good to go. The injuries obviously continue to pile up. So, okay, you're down 21-13. Not yet a disaster until a disaster. And Tua, it was, always seemed like he was starting these drives great. Got a nice little run from Achane, who was really good today in Mostert's absence. No Mostert, no Jalen Waddle today. I'll get to the injury thing in a second because I don't want to use these things as excuses for the Miami Dolphins. Tua was finding Durham Smythe a bunch today, but then he throws a ball that gets snatched right out of the air with one arm by Roquan Smith. The Dolphins were moving, and they were really trying to get this snap off before the 2-minute warning. They do so, and Roquan Smith says, yoink! Takes the football, and you're just like, ugh, that's an absolute killer. So Roquan Smith, he gets it with one hand, and how did the Dolphins how did the Dolphins proceed this? By the way, I don't believe they had Cheetah on that drive either. Cheetah got banged up, so it was I think it was Wilson, Craycraft, and Barrios on that drive. So the Dolphins have the one thing they can't have when it's a one-score game technically still a one-score game. They turn the ball over, and Lamar Jackson, he decides, hey, that's great. And on 4th and 7, the Ravens go for it, and Lamar Jackson throws it to Isaiah Likely, one-hand grab all the way down to the end zone. I mean, it would have been, I think, like a 53-yard. Mind you, they have Justin Tucker, maybe the greatest kicker ever. And no, they just put their giant brass balls on the table. Like, Mike McDaniel had gone for it, I believe, a couple drives beforehand on 4th and 5. You're like, there's old wheelbarrow Mike. You know? Great play to Tua on 4th. It was a beautiful pass. But John Harbaugh, he put down the old cantaloupes and he out-cajoned Mike McDaniel. So that was a brutal haymaker the Dolphins took. They go down 28-13. Dolphins needed a score, and still some time left to get a score because they're not going to get the ball after halftime. And instead, it was on 4th and 1. Tua completes it to Tyreek Hill, and they call mother bleeping offensive pass interference on Cedric Wilson. I'm just like, are you kidding me? And I thought it was a brutal effing call. But they were calling it, to be fair. They called that earlier on the Ravens, too, so they were very strict on this stuff. Some calls, you want to go to the refs. I don't want to do that today, guys. I mean, you got so clearly outclassed by Baltimore. So clearly outclassed. It was embarrassing. It really was. So, as we had mentioned earlier, Justice Hill completely torching the Dolphins on special teams. So he had 200 all-purpose yards today. Guy was a menace. Sick return. Lamar Jackson finds Isaiah Likely for another touchdown. It's just been a brutal game all around. The Dolphins finally get a little piece of momentum. Now, mind you, they're down 35-13. Not looking great. But Zach Sealer it on up. I don't even feel like doing it today. But Zach Sealer, he rips the ball away from Baltimore. Great play by him. Miami gets the ball back. And the next mother bleeping throw, Tua gives it right back to the Ravens. Right back to him, dude. I'm just like, you gotta be kidding me. So, like, the only piece of good football momentum you've had, Tua just gives it right back. And we can dissect Tua if you want here for a second. You know, he was just outclassed today by Lamar. I mean, like, that's really the case of it. I don't think Tua, if you want to go blame pie, was Tua the reason for the loss today. He had a part in it. I mean, that was a brutal turnover. You could have gotten the Dolphins back into it, but the one before halftime was the bigger killer. But he had some real bad plays from his receiver. Tyreek had a bad one. He should have had 3 touchdowns because Tyreek blew that one early in the game. Chase Claypool, Tua threw this one. This was like, he threw one. He lofted this beautiful dime right to Chase Claypool between 2 defenders. It was like the only thing Tua could have done to secure it more to Chase Claypool was to literally run up to Chase Claypool in the end zone and hand him the football. And Chase Claypool, his only appearance since I think the Patriots game, he botched it. So, that was great. But yeah, it wasn't so much that, thankfully they didn't stick it in your ear hole with another touchdown right after that pick. But like, you're given this great field position to maybe make this comeback. Mind you, have done this against this team, and you couldn't do it. Blew it. The next drive, the Dolphins do get back in the end zone after the Claypool blown catch. They go to Jeff Wilson for a couple of runs. That was great. And then Tua had a pass to Devon Achane, got the Dolphins back in the end zone. They go for 2. They fail. What do you know? They tried the fade route. Do you think it worked? Sure didn't. So it's 35-19. Baltimore's got a whole quarter to play. And, I mean, they're just killing it. Justice Hill, once again, goes 41 yards, killing Duke Riley, who, I mean, you want to talk about just a game your backup linebacker got completely exposed. I feel bad for Duke. He's doing his best job, but he got roasty toasty today a lot. And then, just for good measure, they throw it to Patrick Ricard, who is basically an offensive lineman. They give a fullback number 2, and that puts them up 42-19. Puppy was completely over from then on there. So the football here is over. Now let's get to the non-football playing stuff that is mind-blowingly stupid. So Tua's still out there. It's 42-19. Okay, the Dolphins are down 23 points at this point. Patrick Ricard, oh my God, kill for that guy. Caught better than our receivers today. More reliable. Anyway, so this puppy's over. It's a 23-point game. And the Dolphins, it's on 4th down. I forget exactly the yardage. It felt very long. It was 4th and very long. And Tua takes off and tries to run for the first down, but he slides a good 3 yards shy of the marker. And every Raven is there to frog splash on him like they're Rob Van Dam. Now, I don't know why they're allowed to do this. Again, I'm not blaming the officials on this game. I'm not doing that. But I don't know why they're allowed to do that. He gave himself up. I don't know why Ravens are allowed to touch him. I don't know if that's revenge for Joe Flacco, Kiko Alonso years ago. I don't know what that was. But either way, Tua is grimacing coming off the field. He's very banged up. It does not look great. They're going to his left arm, which immediately you're just like, you're pooping your pants. You're like, oh my God, I can't believe. Everybody who wants to, complain about Tua, you're immediately thinking to yourself, please no, please God no, please God no. Then they cut away on CBS, and this was another thing that pissed me off. They cut away on CBS, and Tua's banged up. He's going to the medical tent, already upset. Then Bradley Chubb, Jalen Ramsey get flagged for unnecessary roughness as they, and also Christian Wilkins, of course, are getting into it with, I think it was Melvin Gordon. I don't remember. Been doing some post-game drinking. But they throw the flags. Whoever it was, they're getting chirpy with him. And I just got to say, now's not the time to fight, okay? You can't sit here the entire game. Christian Wilkins was this never happens with Christian Wilkins. Dude was a ghost this game. I can't remember the last Dolphins game I remember. Man, I don't remember Christian Wilkins being, they must have taken him out. I don't know. I'm not sitting here watching the All-22. I don't remember Christian Wilkins as a factor in this game. Jalen Ramsey spent half the game yelling at his secondary, understandably so. They look lost. Eli Apple sucks. Javon Holland's playing on 2 bum knees. And then Bradley Chubb, it's like, dude, you haven't got to the quarterback the entire game. Don't now all of a sudden show this fight. You guys didn't have this fight all game. Now all of a sudden you want to show a little pep in your step. Save me the trouble, please. Well, they didn't, so they got the touchdown. Then they do cut away. The one good thing was they cut back to the sideline. You can see Tua telling Mike White, who was going to go into the game, he mouths, "I'm good." So hopefully that's good news. I'm doing this before podium. I don't know. I should probably check in on Twitter while I'm spouting off at the mouth here and see if Tua said anything. Let's see. First thing I see is Tyreek Hill at the podium, and he says, quote, "I played one of the worst games of my career." I agree with that. He was not very good. And let's see. Any update on Tua? I don't think Mike McDaniel has spoken as I'm doing this right now. Tua said the shoulder's good, just a little sore. Okay. Hopefully that's the case. But anyway, so Tua mouths to Mike White, "I'm good." And then, mind you, while this is all going on, Ravens probably could have taken it easy. They're up 42-19, but then you decide to act like a bunch of assholes and start fighting the Ravens. And so the Ravens are like, okay, you, we're going to go score another touchdown, which they did. Melvin Gordon, he of Dolphins rumors for many years. He goes and scores a touchdown. So, they deserve that. Honestly, the Dolphins defense deserve that. The Dolphins get the ball back briefly at the end of this game to add more embarrassment, and Chris Brooks and Mike White are your tandem. And Chris Brooks botches the handoff, which was like a pitch off, but I think he thought it was a handoff. So the Ravens get the ball back, and for whatever reason, mind you, the Dolphins are down 30 at this point. Bradley Chubb is in the game. Why, I don't know. He's in the game and goes down with a non-contact leg injury. Looked like knee, grabbed his knee. Mike McDaniel runs over to him. Not good. They bring the card out for him, and then Mike McDaniel. It's bad when a coach is doing the head-to-head talk. Like, he's like head up, and like you could tell Bradley Chubb's distraught about this. I think Kyle Van Noy went up to him at one point, and looks terrible. It looks like the Dolphins lost their best pass rusher for the foreseeable future. That's what it looks like. So, coming into this game, yes, you didn't have Raheem Mostert, you didn't have Jalen Waddle, you lost Xavier Howard. Eichenberg, props to him. He only missed a play, but you know that he's banged up. And now you lose Bradley Chubb and almost lost Tua. So Mike McDaniel's got some looking in the mirror to do after this game too. And it was just killer. And then just to put the old exclamation point, the Ravens with Tyler Huntley decide to turn this place into a Checkers and serve some burgers because they got this up to 56 points. So 50 burger put on the Dolphins. All the while you're watching the Bills beat a spunky Patriots team, but put themselves in position to win the division next week. If they could tie up their record with the Dolphins, they would have, of course, the tiebreaker because that would be 2 wins over Miami. I've not seen yet, but I'd imagine that that's going to become Sunday Night Football. So, killer, man. I mean, a truly embarrassing performance. All the stuff about not ready for prime time showed its head. I think it's disappointing. I think the thing I'm disappointed most was the defense because they just felt like they were getting bashed over the head with the same thing over and over and over and over. And like the secondary just couldn't keep up. You want to talk about who looked like they had the speed advantage today. I mean, the Ravens are running all over it, willy-nilly, wide open. They just throttled Miami. They really, really did. And, the offense, the execution just hasn't been there. It hasn't been as pristine. And, you see a game last week, it's fun to win it with 5 field goals, and it's a great redemption story for Jason Sanders. But, like, the Dolphins got to finish off these drives, man. Like, this is getting rough, and the same thing's going to happen next week. If you think you're going to go into a game against Josh Allen, who's mostly had your number, and you're going to out-field goal him to death, I mean, I don't know what you're preparing to actually do as far as winning is concerned. But, yeah, Fangs, McDaniel, Tua, Tyreek, Duke Riley, Eli Apple, Bradley Chubb, unfortunate even with his injury. The defense, Vic Fangio, special teams for that blown start to the second half. Everybody wears it, dude. But the thing was, it was different from the Titans meltdown where they all got to wear it late. This one they got to wear all game long. And it was a brutal watch, and they need to fix it, dude. I'm not having this where the Bills go to the playoffs and beat you and move on, creeping back at you in the backstretch to become the division champions. So, Mike McDaniel, let me tell you something right now, dude. You better go out there. You better get into the practice facility. You better look at that film and fix it, dude.